What a great night. No, what a great day of soccer in San Diego. The city absolutely showed up and showed out to support San Diego Football Club. It was a beautiful thing to witness, and I had an amazing time out there tailgating while kicking around the soccer ball, having some ceviche, and then heading into the game for the atmosphere that was in Snapdragon Stadium. It was absolutely raucous. I had so much fun. But for such a great day, it wasn't all that great on the pitch for San Diego FC. St. Louis City, they'll be the happier with the draw. They will gladly take that 1 point because they were dominated in possession that game. Even though we dominated, I don't think we deserved to win this game the way we played. Soccer is a cruel sport because of those things. And I predicted a San Diego FC win. But mentioned this could be a trap game because of the insane win that we had for the LA Galaxy, a team no one probably thought we'd win, especially 2-0. And then you come home for your first home game. Can you bring that same intensity? It was a trap because I think some of the intensity was lacking a little bit. We were too nonchalant with things, and we just didn't have that intensity that I really, really wanted to see. We also had a couple bad things happen, or one really bad thing happen, which we'll get into in the game recap. But also they're playing in front of owners. Manny Machado was there playing in front of their fans. Now the pressure is on them, and they were expected to beat St. Louis City based off the last game they played. So that's a lot of pressure. We'll see how that works out. Maybe it's just that first home game where all that pressure was there. But what went right during the game? What went wrong in the game? How did the coach's tactics work out? But I left this game with more questions about our offensive tactics and Mikey Vadas' substitutions in this game specifically. It is time to dive into the depths of this game, the tactics, those questions that I just asked, and what worries me moving forward into our next game and forward through the season. This is Mike Gio with the Penalty Kick Podcast, and please don't forget to subscribe so you can get all your pre- and post-match analysis for our San Diego Football Club. Like, share, please support the channel. I appreciate y'all. But let's get into the game recap. San Diego FC, better team from the first whistle to last. I'm going to throw up some stats to show you how dominant we were, but stats, they don't tell the whole story. We'll come back to this and those stats during the analysis portion of this episode, but we're going to just do a quick game recap just in case some of y'all were not able to see it. The starting lineup was the same from last game, so we had the exact same starters. I did think Negri might have had an injury last game because he was subbed off in the second half a little bit early. So I was thinking maybe an injury because of that, but Negri was out there and he played really, really well. But we started off strong in the second minute. We had a ball over the top, which we're great at. Chucky just missed bringing it down. His foot was like that far away from the ball. And if he would have brought it down, he really would have been a one-on-one with the keeper because he would have already been in the box. And I'll take Chucky every time. We also had some good, back to front play that was really, really quick within the first 5 minutes. So in those first 5 minutes, we looked good. But really, the game was where I thought it would be and who would have the most impact. This game was played, really from the center defensive midfield area and the center back area. So Godoy and Sverdkov were absolutely phenomenal. They were bright spots. And then it was just sending those balls forward, having our wings really run onto them. That's really where the game was played. In the 22nd minute, CJ Dos Santos actually read a fast break and a cross. He intercepted the cross, which would have been a tap in at the back post for St. Louis City SC. So big shout out for, that IQ that CJ Dos Santos had to read that play. The horrible news came in the 28th minute because Chucky made a run and then he pulled up and grabbed at his hamstring. So it looks like it's a hamstring injury. I was trying to read reports, see, how bad it was, but it does look like, at least maybe a week or two, potentially not playing. So we need to monitor that really closely. Ima Boateng came on for Chucky as the sub. In the 38th minute, St. Louis had a nicely struck low shot from outside the box and forced CJ Dos Santos down to his right-hand side for a really, really solid save. CJ Dos Santos had a really nice game today. In the 39th minute, We had a chance from a set piece. It was on a corner that was lofted all the way to the back post. Godoy found himself on the back post by himself, had a really nice struck volley with his left foot, but it went right at the goalkeeper, Berkey, and he made the save. And if you saw those stats, you saw we only had one shot on goal, and that was it. It was that play. We did not have any more shots on goal. So the second half was much of the same. We looked better. We were more dominant in possession. We had better build-up play. We had way more half chances, but a lot of our shots were blocked. And really the only couple things I can, mention outside of listing substitutions, which I'm not going to do. In the 73rd minute, we had a set piece that was lofted to the back post. The ball was then headed back to the center of goal, and Ingvardsson in the 6-yard box got his head to it and sent the ball over the top of the net. And I think he probably should have done a lot better, especially considering he's our striker. Then in the 92nd minute, this actually doesn't have to do with the players on the field or anything that's happening on the field. There was a chant, "Oh," that occurred during the game, and I'm not going to say that last word. I do not want to curse on this channel, but it is a common chant. I've heard it for many, many years in the soccer world. And it's tough because the announcer came on and said there is a likelihood that the game is going to be suspended. The match is going to be suspended. We don't want to see that. We don't want to see that chant grow and live. It is a derogatory chant, and we're going to have to monitor that because, it was fervent. When you're there, everyone's getting into it. And so, it's something for all of us to think about. It's something for all of us to take accountability for and think about, because I don't want any of the matches suspended. I don't want to see matches suspended. I want to enjoy soccer. And so we need to figure out what's going to go on with this. But I did want to bring that to your attention because it was a huge talking point, and Mikey Vadas came out after the game to speak out against that. So that was the game. That was the match. When I rewatched this game, I was watching this game earlier this morning where I get, a chance. Watching it live is definitely different. You miss a lot of things just because the festivities, sometimes the angles. But rewatching the game this morning, I actually came away with a little harsher take than I did during the game, and that's probably just because of the excitement of it all. But in the final third, we looked uninspired, uncreative, lacked a little bit of intensity, lacked a little bit of being in unison with one another. But the caveat is we're still undefeated. We still have not lost. And also, we have 2 clean sheets. We haven't gave up a goal yet. That is absolutely awesome. And I'll start with players. Let's see who kind of stood out, who was the stalwarts that really showed out this game. And if you watch my last episode, I mentioned Godoy and Sverkov, just the way the lineups were formed with the opposing team, just the way that I thought the opposing team would at times have more of a defensive mindset. I thought Sverkov and Godoy had a really big opportunity to impact this game, and both of them did so. Both of them were absolutely phenomenal. And I was only more and more impressed when I rewatched the game, actually. And Sverkov impressed me throughout the entire game, not only with defense, but really with passing through the lines to get our wingers and Luca De La Torre on breaks. Because again, that's when we look the best, and that's really our strategy trying to go forward. I also mentioned that I did not think it would be a Luca De La Torre game. It was not a Luca De La Torre game. Luca De La Torre still looked phenomenal. He just wasn't on the ball as much as he was with LA Galaxy. And again, based off lineups, based off the way I saw this, I didn't think it was going to be his game, even though he's still one of our best attackers. He put us in great positions. He was running at the defense. So Luca De La Torre was quiet, even though he was good. And that is exactly kind of how I saw it playing out. But we have to give a big shout out. St. Louis had a great defensive game plan. Again, they'll be happier with the point than maybe we will. They have allowed 1 shot on goal in 2 games. 1 shot on goal in 2 games. So they've been looking great defensively. But in this game, they only had 2 shots on goal. And they only had 2 shots total. Their last game, they had 18 shots total. So our defense did great, and I wanted our defense to do great. In that last episode, I said, McVay and McNair, you're going to need to show out to, make sure this team doesn't score, because they looked like they were attacking a lot last game against Colorado Rapids. Just did not happen as much this game. The individual I was a little bit more disappointed with, probably the most disappointed with this game and maybe so far this season, is Lawfulson. He got beat pretty bad again, and he got beat on near the end line in our box. And a offensive player gave him a little sauce, and he actually put Lawfulson kind of on the ground, hand on the ground move, and got to beat Lawfulson on the baseline in our box. Thankfully, nothing came of it. We had great transition in defense and a great shift on defense, so we can cover that up. But he also did not look good on crosses. He didn't look good on defense. He had one real big opportunity where he found himself wide open, kind of top of the box, and he took one too many touches, took a little too much time, and he shot the ball, and it was blocked by St. Louis City. And St. Louis City blocked a lot of our shots. That's why we didn't have as many shots on goal, yet we had so many shots. So that position is going to continue to worry me. Another player that I need more from is Ingvarsson. He's really good on the hold-up play. Like, he drops back. He is really, really good on the hold-up play, getting balls to him so he can hold it up and then send it out to Chucky or Dreer. But he's a striker. Strikers are paid to score. I'm going to need to see him get in more dangerous spaces, more dangerous places. I'm going to need him to put balls on goal. He had a really good first half long range shot that was just a little above the corner of the net, but it wasn't a shot on goal. And then with the header that we spoke about, he was in the 6-yard box and he sent it over, and I think he really, really honestly should have put that away. So if Ingvarsson does not step up, it puts more pressure on Dreer and Chucky, and we've seen that Dreer, Chucky, and our wings are really the ones that are going to be the workhorses, and I think that might be a problem, and that's something to look into. So I'm going to need to see more from Ingvarsson, but Chucky getting injured is huge, right? We can't discount that, and Dreer carried a lot. Dreer had a lot of his shots blocked. He did get pushed around a little bit, but he still played phenomenally. I thought he had a really good game. He was one of our really bright spots where he was just running. This dude can run, and he was running at the defense a lot. It just never materialized into anything. So having those shots blocked was something I was thinking about quite a bit, and it gets me worried, and I've mentioned this in my other videos before. We do not look good tactically when buildup is slow, when we are in possession while a team is in their defensive shell. Our best opportunities have always come on the break, on getting the balls to our wings in space, or getting Luca De La Torre in between the lines and then running at the defense so we can move quickly. We're very good at quick, direct play, whether it's balls over the top or, again, quick, intricate play to get the ball going forward as quickly as possible. That is our best offense. But outside of that, we don't always look good. We don't have sometimes the creativity that I think we should have. And so our best opportunities really this game came from set pieces, right? The Godoy shot on goal and the Ingvarsson. So we're okay in set pieces when we're, slowing things down. And obviously we get to set everything up in front of the other team's goal. But when a team is in a defensive shell, we do not have the imagination to pull defenders different directions, to have our team work through a solid defense. And Mikey Vars is going to have to find ways to be more creative, to be more innovative in small pockets of space and get the team and the players in the right position. Can we have our 3 attackers maybe fluidly switch position with each other to confuse the defense, to give the defense another look? Can we do tandem runs where there is a false run first, which then creates space where that run took place, and another player runs into the opening? So then there is space to get off shots, because we didn't have space to get off shots, and that's why they were being blocked all the time. Everything is too straight line and a little bit unimaginative when we have a solid defense in front of us. And I really thought, and this was from my last episode, I said I thought St. Louis was really going to bomb forward at times, because that's what I saw on the Colorado Rapids and the 18 shots that they took against the Colorado Rapids. But Olaf, the coach of St. Louis City SC, he used to be a defender, so he's super defensive minded. And it looked like this game, he really almost coached them to be defensive. But that's not their fault. We need to find ways to solve those problems. And it's really difficult because, they play a 3-5-2, which is attacking formation. But when they're in defense, they play a 5-3-2, which means 5 defenders in the back. And it's super tough to break down. But they deserve props for that. It is our job to break down. It is our job to get those goals. It is our job to be creative. And I want to question Mikey Vardas' tactics, his in-game tactics. I think our strategy is a good one. I think our strategy is our identity. So I'm not questioning the 4-3-3. I'm not questioning the invite pressure, counterattack, balls over the top. I'm not questioning any of that. I think that should be our style. That should be the way we play. And we should stick to it because, again, you need an identity. One of the things that is difficult for me is, were there in-game strategies? Were there in-game tactic changes? That's sometimes what I love to see, whether it's halftime changes, maybe you sub on certain people to give the defense a different look. But his substitutions led to a lot of lack of meaningful changes to make a difference, to change the dynamic of the game. A lot of it was kind of like for like, but the 2 substitutions that I did like, I liked Ima Boateng coming on for Chucky because I think Ima is a good player. I also like Valkyrie coming on. I thought he was a really bright spot when he came back on, got a couple fouls at the top of the box, which led to set pieces that were really, really dangerous. But I have to question the substitutions of Willie and Pilcher. I don't think that was the right call. Those were like for like substitutions. So same position, same type of player. That doesn't change the game. It just kind of brings on fresh legs, which is needed at times. But if a player can run, I don't know if I would waste a substitution unless they just couldn't run anymore for a like for like. Then there was the Angel substitution. I like Thomas Angel, and I think he actually should have probably got more playing time, especially considering how good he looked on the assist in the LA Galaxy game. But he was subbed on for Ima, and Ima was a sub himself. So I wonder how Ima feels about that. Players that are subbed onto the field usually do not come off until the end of the game. But I just didn't like using another substitution for a player you had subbed on earlier. So that was a little worrisome. There was at no point in the game where I saw Mikey Vardas change anything meaningful. If a team is setting up defensively and your tactics aren't working, what's your plan B? I'm really big. You need a plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D, plan E. Are you planning for every contingency? Are you thinking of, hey, what if my tactics don't work this game? Or are we just going to be stubborn and always use the same tactics? Sometimes you don't have the player personnel. Sometimes you don't match up well against a team. What are you going to do to win? What are you going to do? Are you just going to be like, well, I think we're just a better team? Sometimes you're not the better team, but you still need to produce wins, and you can still get wins by being tactically better. Also, I really wanted to see Mighton. I'm a huge Mighton fan. Every time I see Mighton on the field, he attacks players, and I think Mighton can actually be really good for us because he's the type of player that can take 2 players on. He's the type of player that has confidence to take 2 players on. And that breaks down the defense, especially if they're in a defensive shell, because then the defense has to collapse around him, makes more space for other people. And what we need is space to get off our shots. So I do want to see a little bit more in the touchline from Marky Vardas, changes, what really happened after halftime looked almost exactly the same. I think it was just, we're playing better, let's continue it. But we also only had one shot on goal in the first half. I wouldn't say we looked crazy dangerous. I said we had really good build-up play. But again, good build-up play doesn't always lead to good shots on goal. How does this affect us for next week? Next week, we are away at Real Salt Lake. We're probably not going to have Chucky. I would suspect we don't have Chucky. What will we look like against them in Utah? Will this be a game where we maybe have a little bit of a hangover, maybe come back down to reality? I hope not. Also, really want to see, are there going to be any adjustments? Are there going to be any other players who are coming on? Are we going to give opportunities to players like Maiten, players like Tomas Angel, who Angel has played great on the pitch already. Maiten, we really haven't seen much. So we'll see what happens at Real Salt Lake, but these are things to monitor. These are things to keep in mind, because my analysis is we've been uncreative when we play against defensive shells. So will Real Salt Lake play a sit-back game? Will Real Salt Lake go into their defensive shell and not maybe move forward as much just because they know we struggle on that? The tape is the tape. Teams are watching the tape. Opponents are watching for all of your weaknesses. So I can't wait to break down the pre-match analysis, because I need to dive into Real Salt Lake. I do not follow Real Salt Lake, so I need to watch their prior games. I need to, get on my research, get on my reading, because we want San Diego FC to be ready. We need to be ready to support our squad when they're away over in Utah. And you know what it is. Can't wait to see y'all discuss that game and so much more on the Penalty Kick Podcast. I'm the host, Mike Gio. Can't wait to see it.
Yeah.